So I wasn't going to make a video for MHX, but then I did a poll over on my community tab, and there are some people that are going to be summoning for MHX, so they might actually need this video talking about how good she is. Plus, I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I was like, you know what? There are probably still people that are just sitting out there being like, yeah, MHX, that one servant from year one that was Dookie Dogwater, yeah, I ain't summoning for her. And I'm like, you know what? No, they need to know that, you know, after buffing all of her skills and her NP literally buffing everything about the servant, she's now actually pretty good. And then I also realized I wouldn't be doing my duty as a saber-face simp if I didn't make a video on MHX. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make this video. Now, I believe when this video goes up, it should be going up on Tuesday. I don't think her banner will be out. It should be out in like a day or two after this video goes up, if the JP schedule is anything to go off of. So I guess you can decide if you're going to throw a couple of multis, a couple of tickets at MHX after this video, or if you're just going to continue to save for Morgan and Kolyanskaya and literally every other servant that's coming out this year, right? All these insane servants. I mean, Tyra's literally right around the corner, so that's also a thing you're going to have to be saving up for, but I'll talk about that towards the end when I'm giving the final review of the servant. Before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. Also, if you aren't coming out to the streams, what are you doing? I stream every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, playing all sorts of fun stuff, mainly FGO, but sometimes you can see me die in Dark Souls. Sometimes you can see me do a Pokemon Nuzlocke where I get all of my mons, well, game ended because I'm not a very patient or safe person. So, you know, that's always really fun if you enjoy, I don't know, masochistic, sadistic content. What is it? Where you like watch somebody else failing and you're like, ah, that's funny. So there you go. You can come out and watch that. Anyway, with all that being said, let's go ahead and start jumping in to MHX's details, starting off with her hits. And surprisingly enough, as an older servant, she kind of got off easy when it comes to the hit department, because a lot of these other older servants, you'll see them and they're like, dude, their hits are super dookie dog water, but MHX is a quick servant, and thankfully, FGO didn't think quick cards were very good initially. I mean, look at someone like Jack. They were kind of out of their mind to give her those hits, or even Okita. Like, a lot of these quick servants are getting off easy because they didn't think the cards were very good. So MHX now retroactively has two 4-hit quick cards that are really good with her 0.81% NP gain and her 25.6% star gen stat because she's an assassin. Also keep in mind that her quick cards are looking really good because of her passive riding EX skill that is giving her a passive 12% boost to her quick cards, not only buffing their damage, but also buffing their properties like their NP gain and their star generation. So her quick cards are actually really solid. And because she's going to be critting everywhere, despite the fact that she's only got 2 2-hit arts cards, it's going to be enough with that really high NP gain as long as you're critting on them, and that's kind of the name of the game with any quick servant. So you should be fine in those departments, and that's really all there is to say about her hits. I mean, I could mention that she's got a 4-hit extra attack, and you know we don't like that over here on the ZTL channel, but she is a Saberface, and we are Saberface simps here at the ZTL Industries channel, whatever you want to call it. Regardless, it's time to start looking at some of those skills, and like I said, every single one of these skills has been buffed, and even her NP has been buffed, because yeah, back in the day, MHX was pretty notorious for being like one of the worst, if not the worst 5-star servant in the game, because she just didn't do anything, right? Like, all of her stuff was really just mid or wasn't very good at all, and her only niche was being the assassin that could take down sabers, but you would just use literally any archer. Like, you would break out your Robin Hood or your Gilgamesh if you were so lucky to have him. Then again, Gilgamesh kind of hit like a wet paper towel before he got his NP buff, but you guys get what I'm saying. You had other options to break out. But now all of these skills are looking mad nice because they've all been buffed. Now, I say that, but this first skill is still like, okay. It's reducing all enemies' defense by 20% for 3 turns, and then it's going to kind of hit them with like a terror status, basically, so they don't get stunned initially, but they get stunned the next turn. Although even in that case, it's an 80% chance to stun all of them, but what are you going to ask for when it's an AoE stun? Like, potentially you could stun literally everybody on the opposing party, very similar to, say, like Waver's NP. So it's kind of like a nice support skill, right? It can buy you a turn next turn, and then it's contributing a little bit of extra defense for MHX. It can also be pretty nice in the future with like Ruler Scotty, because usually when you're reducing all enemies' defense or you're giving the entire party attack buffs, usually most people are just using like say, double Castoria or double Merlin or double whoever, right? Like double Scotty right now, who don't really benefit from these offensive buffs. So when we start getting people like Koyenskaya, Oberon, we start getting Ruler Scotty, they actually have offensive NPs, so they can actually benefit from some of these buffs that they're getting. It's also really nice if you're using other offensive servants, like maybe you're doing like a hybrid DPS setup. That other servant is going to benefit from the defense drop. But again, it's nothing too crazy. It's only like a 20% defensive drop. Just think of it as kind of like her charisma, since the charisma attack buffs are 20%. Just kind of think of it like that. Moving on to her second skill. This skill is not only going to bomb her 20 stars, but it's also going to be her survivability skill, giving her invincibility for 1 turn. I know, again, it's nothing super insane, but considering that it was originally just a 14-star star bomb, this is definitely a huge step up. And it's actually really important for someone like MHX as a quick servant, because the quick meta is pretty notorious for having like no survivability. You pretty much only have Scotty's NP, and that's really it. If you don't obliterate the enemy, you're probably going to get obliterated yourself. So it's very nice that she has her own method of survivability, and being a very good one with an invincibility. And then the fact that she bombs 20 stars might seem a little bit redundant, because she's got really good star gen with her quick cards. I mean, she's also an assassin, so they just naturally are able to gen stars very easily. But you can almost think of this as something you could pop turn 1 if you don't need that invincibility immediately to kind of get MHX going. If it's one of those fights that you're like, I don't think I'm going to need the invincibility, like I could probably end this battle in like 2 to 3 turns, just pop this immediately, get the stars, and start going right on turn 1. Because obviously, unless you have like a star bomb CE, or you have a servant that can bomb stars like this, you're not really going to have access to stars on turn 1. So it can be a really good way to jumpstart your first turn if you're not going to need the invincibility. Then finally, there's going to be her third skill. This is her like Saber special damage mod that she kind of has. The main thing that she's getting here is like the 50% special damage mod against Sabers, and she's giving herself that 20% attack buff. Those are going to multiply into each other as they are different buff types. If you're not aware, there are different buff types in FGOs, those being your card buffs, your attack buffs, your NP damage buffs, and your special damage mods. They're all different buff types, and they multiply into each other, so you like to have servants that can kind of diversify their buffs out a little bit. And this makes MHX really, really strong into Saber servants specifically. Now, you can use her like not fighting Saber enemies. That's why they gave her this attack buff. That way she didn't just have no damage at all whatsoever when she wasn't fighting Sabers. And truth be told, even if she's not fighting Sabers right now, her damage is still very high. They've kind of bolstered that up, giving her the defense down, the attack buff, and buffing her NP. In fact, still to this day, she's the 3rd hardest hitting assassin class servant you can use, so that makes her really strong even outside of her special damage mod. Her special damage mod can allow her to be the hardest hitting assassin by quite a large mile, actually. She starts getting in those like 100,000 damage ranges. This is really, really high, but then again, you need to find somebody that's actually a Saber and a Saber face, and I guess that's a good transition into her NP, because her NP is really just a big beat stick against Saber face enemies, not Sabers. The 3rd skill is what allows her to fight any Saber, but the NP only gets that big, monstrous damage mod against the Saber faces, like your Artorias, your Okita Alters, your Morgans, your Jeans. All of those servants kind of fall under this umbrella of the Saber face thing. Now, this actually is kind of good in a way, because it kind of allows her to be really strong, not only just against Saber class servants, but you can forego the 3rd skill special damage mod and bring her to fight, say, like Archer Artoria, right? Because she'll still get this massive damage mod on her NP. You'll just be losing that little bit of that damage mod and that crit star gen on her 3rd skill. But again, you still have the defense down, still have the attack. She'll still do really good damage. And this is what I think kind of fixed her just a bit. And I think is what allows her to kind of compete with MHX Alter, at least right now. I know MHX Alter is one of those servants that I really think is super strong, and I consider her one of the best quick DPS servants in the game. But at the very least, MHX Alter, until she gets her buff in like a couple of months, kind of just has a niche against Saber class servants. Eventually, she'll get her good alignment special damage mod, but MHX still kind of has this going for her, because you can bring her to go fight, say, like Ryder Mordred, and she'll still have this insane special damage mod. Or you can bring her to go fight Jalter, and she'll have the damage mod. And you're always going to see Saber faces. It's going to be something that you're going to keep getting in the game. So it's almost like MHX is never going to really lose out on this value, because this damage mod is just going to keep accruing and getting better as the game goes on. Now, I'm giving her all of this praise, and I'm saying she's super good, and she's even got a leg up against MHX Alter, who I consider one of the best quick DPS servants in the game. But unfortunately, in literally like probably 10 or 11 days, Tyra's going to come out on the NA version of the game, and she is insane. I believe sometime last year, maybe around this time, I made like my top 5 quick DPS servants, and I think I had MHX Alter above Tyra. My views on that have changed after I've used Tyra a lot more. I think I like Tyra more than I like MHX Alter. She is absolutely insane, and it's kind of like, why summon for MHX when you know that Tyra is going to be coming out in 11 days, and she just can be used against pretty much anybody? Like, yeah, she has her Genji special damage mod, but even if she doesn't get that, she's absolutely insane. She's just so good into literally anybody that it kind of makes it hard for me to be like, yeah, go summon for MHX, because I'm painting a good picture for her, because she is really good. She's kind of easy and like simple to use. You just spin her up and throw her at somebody, and she obliterates them. But Tyra's going to be coming out, and it's kind of hard to recommend going for MHX over Tyra. I guess you could say that like Tyra at the very beginning, before she starts building up, is a lot weaker than MHX. I guess that's an argument you can make for her, but I just think you're better off going for Tyra over MHX, unless you really do like Saber Faces, because then she's going to be very, very strong. And at the very least, even if you go for MHX over summoning for Tyra, MHX is still very, very strong. She's got good survivability. She can put up some really good numbers. If you bring her to fight Saber, she's going to absolutely crush them. But even if you don't, Saber Faces are a pretty vast category of servants that you can fight, and she can be made very useful against them as well. Hopefully this helps you in kind of making your decision of if you're going to summon for her or not. I know a lot of people are saving for like Morgan and other servants like Karen that are coming out this year. But I did see, you know, there's a couple of people on that poll that were voting for MHX. So, you know, I'm just saying, I'm not going to say that I'm going to tell you to not summon for her, because she's definitely worth summoning. She's definitely cute enough to summon for. But again, you got to weigh your options on MHX or Tyra, or even technically MHX Alter, who's getting that buff when the Grail Live event comes out in a couple of months. So those are kind of your options when you're thinking about single target quick servants. Regardless of who you think is better, you got to acknowledge that they're at least coming out. So with that all being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace late, guys.